Hi, my name is Taylor. I am the owner of Hanland Homestead. Me and my husband both bought this farm about 6 months ago, I think. It is located in northern Illinois. Super excited to be starting my YouTube channel for this. There's just a lot that we have going on with projects and everything with the farm. Currently, we do have about 30 ducks, chickens, Sebastopol geese. We are very excited. We have runner ducks, Pekin ducks, Swedish blues. I'm trying to think of all the ducks. Muscovy ducks. We have 2 Sebastopol geese who are amazing and sometimes grouchy. But we also have cookies and cream chickens. So we got a couple litters of, well, not really litters, but little mini flocks of chickens within their little social hierarchy. Something super exciting. But there's a couple things I just wanted to say about myself before I get into the tour of the homestead and everything. Right now, we have 3 dogs on top of the waterfall. We did just get a fence installed for the dogs, which was super nice. The property is about almost 3 acres, and it's something that's super exciting. Our property doesn't really go front to back. It goes forward. It has a little bit of a backyard, but then it goes front to side. There's some things that I do want to talk about. I think I'm going to try to upload videos every Friday. I think it would be something that I can aim for and, do projects here or there. But Friday's going to be my main day for uploading. I think that would be best. I also think that once a week I do want to have, or bi-weekly, little project update, just stuff, filming, renovations, products are on the farm. Like currently we have been doing footage for building our second 8x20 shed for the rest of the waterfowl that we will be getting. Some things that are coming up that I'm very excited about. We are getting baby doll sheep and Valais cross sheep. And I'm super excited about that. I've always wanted sheep. I'm a knitter. I love knitting. I'm looking to start spinning my own yarn. I'm not an advanced knitter by any means. I am well versed in knitting. I've been doing it for about 3 years now. I would say that if you asked me to teach you, I could probably teach you, but I probably won't be filming too many tutorials in terms of knitting and whatnot, but sometimes I am going to start processing my own wool here soon. I have a couple bags of fleece that I need to get through. I purchased hand carders and a drum carder. Drum carder won't be here for about 10 weeks, but I think it'd be very important to go over the basics. There's a lot of nuance and inaccessibility when it comes to a lot of these crafts and animals and having a farm and whatnot. Everything is very, I would say a lot of it's inaccessible, okay? Unless you're in a good position to do it, And my goal as someone who is breeding animals and also utilizing wool and whatnot for projects and wool dryer balls, knitting, spinning, all that stuff. I want to, in terms of my goals, I would say that accessibility is something that I am heavily drawn into. Growing up, obviously, a lot of us did not have the means to have a farm. It's very foreign for a lot of people. It's very important that these kids have the opportunity to work with animals and whatnot. And although my husband and I are not having kids, we do have family members and other friends that have kids. And I think it's very important that they are exposed to animals at such a young age. I think if you routinely have them in that kind of environment, it not only can instill a hardworking mindset and attitude into your child, but I think it's also important in terms of, blowing off some steam, right? Cuddling with some sheep or some chickens or baby chicks and letting them feed from your hand. And I think that there's something wholesome in that. And I think a lot of people very much enjoy that. But I do plan on sharing info about my animals. I think it'd be super cute to do a one-on-one video hey, here's my dogs, here's this specific chicken or whatever. I think that it'd be fun to introduce a lot of the animals and have their playlist, because sometimes they do super cute things. Other times, you have the goose who is very angry during breeding season, and if she sees a chicken, she come by her nest. Chicken is unfortunately going to get a lot of that blunt anger from said goose. So a lot of stuff like that. It's very interesting. We're learning as we go, and honestly, we can only learn from what we experience. As much as I can go based off what other people say online, it's hard because there's a lot of kickback and nuanced information in the farming community and in the homesteading community where there's no right or wrong way to do it. Like, yeah, sometimes, it's different because it's not something that I've experienced before. Whereas, like, you take your dog to the vet, for example. You take your dog to the vet. They're like, hey, they need these shots. They need a dental cleaning, all that stuff. But in this kind of community, we don't really have too many, like, livestock veterinarians. So it's very different when you have animals that you're trying to raise and something goes wrong and then you're scrambling, right? Even though you have vets, it's at the end of the day, it's a chicken, and as much as I want to do as much that I can for my animals, it's something that's very hard because, there's only a certain number of livestock vets in the area, and really we don't have too many. So it's something where you have to deal with some of these issues on your own. And that's where groups like, Chicken Vet Corner group comes in, Horse, Vet Corner comes in, where you have certain livestock vets and group experts that are in these groups, and you can kind of post the issues you're having and learn from that. But in terms of physically learning yourself, a lot of these issues you have to address yourself. You have an abscess, but you can't get your livestock vet out here for 2 weeks. It's kind of like something that you have to deal with. I think that there's going to be, especially with getting sheep, there's a lot that my husband and I, Trevor, are going to have to figure out. And by us, I mean me, because he's not really keen on sheep, but I definitely want the sheep. I think that there's the art of losing in terms of losing crafts, losing grandma hobbies, right? There's only, like, people make fun of the knitting community. They make fun of the wool processing community because a lot of the people that process their wools and fiber mills are run by a certain generation. And I think that it's important that we learn from those people and pass on traditions. I think that it's important to learn these skills, right? And if I say, hey, I've been taking classes on spinning yarn, now I can teach other people to spin yarn, something that's super important to me. I think a lot of these communities, they lack resources in terms of growth and grandma hobbies, cross stitch, embroidery, knitting, just a lot of these, like, very hobbies that people don't really partake in. It's definitely hobbies for the slower lifestyle, right? But don't be surprised if you see me in my car in the passenger seat knitting, or if you see me at the bar, I'm having a couple drinks and I'm knitting with my husband. This is something that I'm passionate about. I love making sweaters. I love making hats. I love houseplants. I love houseplants, and I love, grandma hobbies. And I am looking to make friends in the community who also like grandma hobbies. Nobody tells you how hard it is in your 30s to make friends from a like-minded community, whether that be first-generation homesteading, first-generation farming, houseplants, knitting, processing wool, whatever. It's hard to make those friends in a community that doesn't really have those kind of resources. Like, I think a yarn store just opened up locally. Super cool to find out, but I have not visited yet. I do have plans to do that. I'm the kind of person that likes to support small businesses and farm stands and everything else. And I would rather spend money at a local produce stand or buy goat cheese from the local produce stand or farm stand. And yeah, I think that it's super important that we start uplifting each other in the community, and also important that we figure something out. And as for my space of where I'll be talking and sitting down and having these conversations, for now it's going to be upstairs in our loft, right? Bungalow house, super cute, but it's going to have to be in my loft until I sort out the mudroom and turn it into girly paradise. I think that there's something funny where a lot of people are kind of uninterested in having girly activities and being feminine and also farming at the same time. I'm not here to glamorize it at all, because I know a lot of people would be like, oh, that's not how it actually works. And that it is true. Like, for example, before we got our fence, I broke my leg last year. And so when we moved here, I couldn't let our middle dog out because he's like 60 pounds and my leg was still weak, right? I had messaged in the local group that I'm in on Facebook, and I was like, hey, does anyone want to walk my dog just once a day while my husband's at work, since I work remote? And I got a couple of people that messaged me, and the one person that I did find, it was really funny because she's like, I know exactly where your house is. And yes, I do see you outside in your pajamas, chasing chickens around with a rake to get them back in the coop in the afternoon or in the morning or whatever. So I do find that very funny. But yeah, but now we have a fence. We don't have to worry about that. But our animals are free range. I will say that. All the chickens, waterfowl, all that stuff, free range. Lock them in the coop at night, and knock on wood, but we've been pretty good. We do have some raccoons and coyotes out here, but we've been pretty good. We haven't, knock on wood, lost anyone yet, but I think that we probably will at some point. But in terms of, we're pretty safe. We lock everyone up at night, even before it gets dark out. We just make sure everyone's in the coop, because we've seen plenty of critters out there, and I've taken out multiple possums during the day, and it's just something that, again, something that you have to deal with that people don't really talk about unless you are familiar in the area, familiar in farming and homesteading and all that stuff, and you're out in the middle of nowhere. And we are kind of out in the middle of nowhere. We are on a moderately busy road, but we are kind of out in the sticks. And so there's forest preserves around us. So there's a lot of wildlife that comes. We have owls that are out here every night. We open up the windows and you can hear them. Woo! But yeah, so this is something that's really important to me. I am an animal advocate, and I will do whatever I need to do to take care of my animals. I think that this is a place where we can foster a sense of community and say, hey, I don't know if you would, have you tried it this way? Or, whatever. Any tips or tricks that I learn on the job, I will give to you. But at the same time, if I could foster a sense of community and be like, hey, I know you did it this way, but next time it'll be easier if you do this. Or, whatever. So in terms of projects, this is what we have coming up. Right now, we are building the shed / coop for the ducks and geese. Our goal is to breed Sebastopol geese. If you did not know, there's about 1,000 breeding pairs left of Sebastopol geese. Probably do specific animal videos asking any questions that you might have. Although this was our first breeding season with Sebastopol geese. I went the natural route, and unfortunately we did not end up with any goslings, but she only had about 3 eggs. So we really didn't have that much of a chance anyways, since there's about, I think it's 80% mortality rate for those kinds of animals, for the breed of geese. So it's very hard fertility rate. I do know that they were fertile at some point, and then they ended up not being viable. I do think that my gosling or my goose was very committed to sitting on these eggs. Stuff happens. So yeah, I think that this channel, I want it to be something special where people who don't know where to get started, where these first generation homesteaders and first generation farmers can come to learn things as we go. Because obviously I'm not going to do everything correct. I've never said that I'm going to do anything correct. And I want people to know that off the bat, that that's something that I'm looking forward to, is learning on the job, right? This is not the kind of place where you'd come to if you have not done any research on if you're getting animals and whatnot. Like, obviously gardening's a whole different story, but like when you're dealing with live animals and whatnot, it is something that I would recommend researching before you get into. This is not the channel to come and I'm going to info dump on how you should take care of your animals. But I will say that this is how we do it and how it works for us. And what works for us might not work for you. Make do with the land that we have. We have to capitalize on what we have and, rotationally grazing and stuff. We can talk about those things when they come up. But as of right now, only have the waterfowl. This is something I want to film videos of hand carding, drum carding, wool, processing wool, washing wool. We are getting, for the sheep that we are getting baby doll sheep. It is something that I'm very excited about. And I know you're going to be like, baby doll sheep for wool, that's weird. But yeah, we also want to show these animals. So it's something that's very important to us and we want to breed these animals. But there's something to be said where a lot of people have this picture perfect idea that everything is going to be perfect at every single time, right? You buy an old farmhouse, you're going to update it right away, all that stuff, projects, it's something that is attainable for a lot of people, but honestly, majority of us can't just dump $100,000 into projects and whatnot. As much as I'd love to build, a addition to the house and redo the kitchen and all that stuff, we can do what we can do as it comes along, but this is not the channel where you're going to see me redo the entire house. As you can see there, over there's kind of like a paint swatch on the wall right here. We have a lot of projects and, we've only been here 6 months, but we're also making do with the time that we have. And I think that this channel can be something super, super special. And I want to build a community around these first generation farmers, these first generation homesteaders, because it's something that needs to be said, especially when grocery store prices are very high. Growing your own food, processing your own animals, if we do get meat chickens in the future, that is that. But as of now, we have no plans to do that. I'm the kind of person who bonds heavily with their animals. And honestly, doing that is not processing animals after I've bonded with them, after I've taken care of them, I've grown with them as a person, and I've learned a lot from these animals. It gets to a point where they get old and then I'm like, okay, it's time to process, kind of thing. But honestly, I don't know. It's something that we haven't really talked about that much, but in terms of me, not something, I don't want to eat what I know, if that makes sense. I do want to know that the food that I'm getting where it comes from, what it's eating, is it free range, anti-cruelty, all that stuff. But that's kind of where you need to buy from your local farmers, because a lot of these factory farms and everything that you're getting your Tyson and all that stuff, some of it does come from, I think, smaller farms. But I think for the most part, if you're buying local from your local farmers, half a cow, whatever, I think that that's important, because not only are you supporting your local farmers and local communities, but I think that it's something that can change your mindset. And I think once more people start doing it, there's more incentives for farmers to keep doing it, if that makes sense, and to keep going. Times are different for farmers than they were 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 30 years ago. But I think that if we can foster a sense of community and uplift each other in the homestead community, in the farming community, first generation farmers, I think that it's something that it's good.